Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. It's been a few years since I did that gig, but one that I have had very, very positive memories that keep coming back to me, and I love those days teaching. I want to welcome everyone to this session of my Express Entry Live Q&As. And for those of you who are a member of the Express Entry Law Facebook group, you're able to watch this live. Those of you who are on YouTube, I definitely want all of you Facebookers to subscribe to YouTube and all of you YouTube subscribers to join my Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And then you can tune in and watch these live. Those who are jumping on right now, it's great to see. Fazila is here, joining from Saudi Arabia. Let me know where you're tuning in from. This is my favorite part almost of every EE Live Q&A is following and being able to see where you guys are tuning in from. Jasdeep, good morning to you. After it's been quite a while, hasn't it? It's good to see you tuning in. We'll give a few minutes for the rest of the people that are going to be attending live to jump on. But I'm trying to be starting at the same time. You can see I've got my counter, those of you who are tuning in on Facebook, to let people know that it's coming. But I'll be honest, guys, Facebook is starting to really frustrate me. And I'll explain that to you in just a few minutes as the rest of everyone joins here. So we've got Abhishek from Germany. Welcome. Mohammed from Pakistan. Hi, Zaid. How are you? Where are you tuning in from, Zaid? Neetha is Bangalore. Alex is from Mexico. Kabir is India. Neetha is India. Afshan is the UAE. Anna, welcome back from Brazil. Está muito bom vê-lo de novo. Estou a falar pouco de português, mas o sotaque é do Portugal e não do Brasil. Então, já passaram muitos anos desde eu estive em Portugal, mas estou muito bom vê-lo de novo aqui neste nosso grupo. There you go, Anna. How about that for Portuguese? We're talking like 1994 is when I returned back to Canada from Portugal. So I don't think I would score very high on the IELTS version of Portuguese, but I can get by enough to communicate. So that's pretty funny. All right. Okay, Fazila. She says, send an email. Hope you answer mine today. Well, Fazila, we'll see. I've got what you guys have no idea how many emails I get. And so I've isolated a bunch of them today, but because the number of emails that I get now is so high, what I've decided to do is to try to group them by category. At least at this stage, that's what I'm going to do. So today is going to be a work history day. And so I've got a ton of questions about work history. I've got a few about education that I'm going to post in here, at least that I'm going to talk about. But generally speaking, it's going to be focused more on work history today. And then I'm going to try to make it easier for people to search and to sort. All right? Okay, let's see. Where else do we have here? Wow, you know what? I could probably spend the whole day going through where people are tuning in from. Savio's India. Zaid is from Pakistan. Great. Satar is Bahrain. Newman's Pakistan. Let's see. Adora is coming to Lethbridge next month. Fantastic. That is very cool. You got your PPR. Oh, wonderful news, Adora. That is awesome. I'm so excited for you. Bella says, hi, I found you. Yes. Okay. I alluded to the fact at the beginning of this EE Live Q&A that Facebook was frustrating me. So here's why it's frustrating me, okay? I'm going to share my screen. With all of you awesome members, I'm going to blow this up so you can see. Okay, so it's nice and big. Everybody can see. Take a look at this, guys, okay? So let's go to the very top, all right? Here's my opening banner page. If you guys want to learn more about me, you can just click on here and it will take you to this description page that Justin posted. Justin's my tech guy. And basically it says if you want to hire me as your rep, you can click on this link. If you want to subscribe to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide, you can do that. So guys, that's what I always want you to do. Always. Because the information that I share here is limited. I can only answer so many questions, but within this step-by-step guide, that's where all the answers are. But that's separate. I don't want to dwell on that. Here's the issue that I have. Look at this, guys. Do you see how many members we have? Okay, if you guys can see this, post in the comments, how many members do we have within our Express Entry Law Facebook group? So if you can see my mouse waving around here, how many members do we have? Let's see your comments. Throw it up, okay? You guys can see it, and but I just want to see who's actually paying attention here. How many members of the Express Entry Law Facebook group do we have? And you can see everybody. We've got Dubai, Syed's from Dubai, Asif is from Pakistan, Amrit is also from India. Okay, so post a comment, guys. I want to see if you guys are with me here on this. Everybody can see it. Yes, Newman's the first one. He wins. Newman Zaid. He says, Nauman says 99,741. Okay, 99,000. Okay, here's the issue that I have. The issue that I have, if I go over here to our, let's go to videos, okay? And then I go back to my last EE Live Q&A, and let's pick one. I showed you guys a bunch of fishing stuff last week. It was quite funny over the weekend. But let's go back to this one here. So I'm going to pull it up. And let's see if we've got the specific stats. Maybe this one isn't it. Let's see. I'm going to find one. Okay, let's find one. This one is. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to pause it. This is one of my past episodes. Do you see how many views? Look at this. 1,514 views. All right? I know for a fact that people are not missing these videos because they don't think they're worth watching. Okay, I know that. The reality is my lovely friends at YouTube, that manage the Facebook page are throttling it. In fact, they're not letting everybody who really needs to see this video, which is almost the full 100,000 people, they are not making it visible easily for people who want to watch the recording, which is many, many people in our group. And because of it, it's driving me crazy. So, fine. I'm not going to play Facebook's game. It's been great because we've all been able to get into this awesome group. But at the end of the day, people who really want to see the videos and the things that I'm trying to share are struggling to do it. So here's what I want you guys to do. So you will see here, you can search through this. You can try to use the search feature, right? So if I type in here YouTube and I type here, you can see that Abhishek was kind enough to set up this post right here where you can actually subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you click on this link, it will take you to my Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And here, guys, is where you can very easily access every single video that I do with Express Entry. Now, I'm in the process of renaming these so that they're easier to find information. But if you want to watch my fantastic fishing expedition that me and my son Connor did, you can check it out right here. And so I'm going to fast forward it and I'll show you. Let's see if we can find it here. Oh, here we go. I don't know if you can hear this, but watch. Me and Connor just did this last night. On Saturday, we did this. Check this out. If you haven't seen it, you can watch the video here. It's hilarious. All right. So it seems to me, and people are actually, some people are wondering, well, why the heck is Mark posting these things about him and his son ice fishing? Well, there's two reasons. One, which is most important, is that I actually want to share with you guys my life, what I'm doing, so that you know that I'm a real live human being. I'm not some staged person who's just doing these EE Live Q&As just to to convince you to hire my firm or to retain me or anything like that. And I don't want anything to do with you guys. That's not me. I want to share who I am, that I'm a real person, that I have a family, that I've got kids, that I've got a life. And so when you're sending me Facebook messages and you're saying, Mark, why haven't you answered my question? It's been 2 minutes and you haven't responded. Understand, guys, that I'm like you and that I have other things in my life. And because I can't spend every single hour one-on-one with you guys, that's why I created the step-by-step guide. I poured all my information into it. But once again, I'm pushing that to the end because it's not about that. The second reason is Facebook. It's Facebook, guys. For whatever reason, when I'm showing images, and I don't know how they can tell, but when I'm showing videos of me, what I'm doing personally, and things in my life, it seems to reach more of you guys. Like you're actually able to see it. And then I point you back to the next EE Live Q&A. So there's multiple purposes. It's not just that I am, what's the word I'm looking for? Narcissistic. It's not just that I am a person who just has to share my world with everybody else and I can't live without your positive comments saying, Mark, you're awesome, you're awesome. That has nothing to do with it. I love sharing so you know who I am, but I also do because that's what Facebook seems to latch on to. All right. So here we go. Oh, what do we have here? 14% discount off lands and estates. Are you serious? This is awesome. Okay, so Bella, can you remove this person from our group? That's what you call, actually, I can't even remember the word. When someone comes in and kind of hijacks your video, that's what that fun person did. So Bella, go in and delete them if you could. That would be awesome. Bella is my helper. Okay, so back on track. That's why I do what I do. I hope you guys appreciate it. I'm not going to waste any more time other than saying we are so close to 100,000. And when we cross over that 100,000 mark, which I'm positive it's going to be in, probably by tonight or the next day, I'm still trying to figure out what awesome thing I can do to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. So what I want you guys to do, if you're listening in right now, when we cross over that 100,000 members of our Express Entry Law Facebook group, I want you guys to post in your comments, and you don't have to do it live. Those who are tuning in later can also give me suggestions on what you think we should do to celebrate, okay? So if you've got some ideas that you think I could do, then please send them and post them into the comments here. You YouTubers can send them straight to my email address, mholthy@stringham.ca, and just make a recommendation, what we should do to celebrate. So that is a milestone that is so close. It's just about here, and I want to celebrate it and share it with all of you guys. All right, let's jump right in now to these questions. And like I said before, if I can show you my desk, I'm going to move out of the way, okay? See those piles back there, folks? You see all those piles? All those piles of emails are separated into categories of questions that people are asking. And so I hope you guys can appreciate that if I don't get to your question, it's not because I don't want to. It's that I'm trying to compile things in a way that will be of the most benefit to everybody that's listening. So if you think that's okay, give me a thumbs up. All right. First question. This is related to work history. And you'll remember with Express Entry, there are some tips and strategies that I've given in the past about really submitting information that is efficient and effective without wasting your time. So here is the question, and let me just pull up the first one. Okay, so this one is from Tamirlan. Tamirlan says, hello, Mark. I work as a secondary school teacher. I have 18, this is actually a good one. I have 18 academic hours per week written in my employment contract. All this hours lessons I do at school, but also I do another job at school. I participate in staff meetings. I get prepared for my lessons. I correct homework and tests. I actually spend more than 30 hours per week. Is it full-time job for Federal Skilled Worker Program? Thank you for your help. All right, Tamirla, as a former high school teacher myself, I can tell you that your job and what you're doing there is 110% full-time. It's exactly what I did when I was a teacher, teaching in the wonderful rural school in southern Alberta. When I was teaching, absolutely, I only taught so many hours out of the day. Well, it was most of them, but there were breaks. There were days where I had spares, where I didn't have to actually teach, and it was in those times, as well as late into the evenings, where I was marking papers, where I was preparing assignments. So absolutely, that time that you spend is considered full-time. But the challenge you have is that IRCC is ruthless. In other words, they don't always accept everything that you say. and they rely on the letters as the primary indicator of how many hours you actually spend. So if you want to try and claim that extra time to amount to the minimum, and you remember what the minimum is, right? It's 30 hours per week to be considered full-time, then you actually need to provide other evidence. And you just have to be creative. Do you have coworkers? Do you have other things, other individuals that can attest to the time that you're actually put in? But remember, the work that you're paid for, that you work, has to be paid for. So it has to be paid work. And so the reality is it full-time? 100% I agree it is. Will an officer accept that as full-time? Well, I can't confirm 100% because technically your employer is probably paying you for those 18 hours of instruction. And if you are working and not getting paid, well, you can't count that work experience. So you can see how it's a very, very fine line. Ultimately, are you going to get credit for half time? Yes, you are, because you're over 15 hours. But whether or not that 18 hours is going to be accepted is going to entirely depend on the officer. You can make your pitch. You can provide other evidence showing that that work is all part of your base pay with the company or with the school that you're teaching for. But there's no guarantee because it all depends on what that reference letter says. And if the reference letter says you're paid so much an hour and you're only paid for those 18 hours, then technically they could consider that other work unpaid and it doesn't count. All right? So I hope that answers your question or at least clarifies a few things for you. But understand that it's entirely up to the discretion of that officer. Okay? So there's one. All right. Next question is also related to work history, and this is self-employed work. So Fazila says, excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat here. Fazila says, hello, Mark. I came across your YouTube channel yesterday and immediately subscribed to YouTube and your Facebook group. Awesome. That's exactly what you want to do. Subscribe to the Canadian Immigration Institute. And Bella, if you're on here watching, can you find that link that that other group member did that I showed you guys and just repost it in the comments for me? That would be awesome. And I want you guys to understand that Bella is completely volunteering. She is like family to me, but she is not an employee of the firm. She was a past client that I worked with who has just been a dear, dear close friend to me. And so treat Bella with the most kindest, friendliest comments that you can because she is fantastic. Okay. So here's the question. Okay, so Fazila says, you are doing such an amazing job helping people who are in need and people like me who have been sort of cheated by other consultants. Okay, so I'm not a consultant. I'm an immigration lawyer. And so consultants have their set of requirements to qualify to be immigration representatives. Often it's like a series of evening courses over a 6-month period, and then writing a test. For me, for law school, I went through 5 years of undergraduate plus 3 years of law school before I was eligible to consider myself a lawyer. So that's the difference between an immigration lawyer and a consultant. And so what I wanted to do is just clarify that. So I'm so sorry to hear that you've been cheated by other consultants. Okay, here's the question. I'm a freelance photographer and NOC 5221, which is a skill level B. Fazila says that sometimes I work from 45 to 50 hours per week and sometimes 20 to 30 hours. How can I prove my work experience? I can provide reference letters from 12 to 14 clients who repeatedly took my services over the period of 1 year and ask them to put time frame that I took to complete the project, which is 15 days per client. Will this be sufficient? Well, absolutely that would be. But understand that the time that you take for completing that work for those clients is not just the time that they feel you've actually been on site, taking the photographs. There's a lot of post work that's done, post editing, developing, all those kinds of things. And so I wouldn't necessarily restrict your work experience to just the time that your clients say you spent working on their project. You also indicate that you live in a tax-free country. Well, boy, I wish I lived in that country, because about 40% of my taxes, almost, well, not 40%, but once you get up into higher tax brackets, then you're almost paying 40% tax to the government. So you live in a tax-free country. So will the reference letter having all the information regarding mode of payment, cash, and the amount be sufficient? I'd really appreciate if you could help me in this matter. Okay, so the starting point, Fazila, I'm going to go here. I'm going to jump back to my screen. And it's fun because I've done this repeatedly over and over. So those of you guys who have been around and have been watching my EE Live Q&As for a long time have seen me do this. EE Completeness Check is where you go, open up the screen. It's nice and big. I'm going to search for reference right here, this section, work experience, proof of work experience. And I see where my image is, so I'm going to make sure that this is above my image on the screen here. You can see right here if the applicant is self-employed. So this is the instruction that you're going to follow. You need to provide evidence that you're actually incorporated or that you're self-employed or that you actually have a business. So evidence of income and documentation, just like you've indicated, from third-party individuals indicating the service that you provided, along with payment details, okay? And you'll notice here that your own self-declared main duties or affidavits are useless. So it doesn't do any good for you to provide your own affidavit saying this is what I did. You need those client letters and confirmations indicating that they did pay you in the time period of which you worked. Yes, maybe you're going to send them out an invoice and then they're going to then pay for that invoice. And that's the actual record that you're going to have that you've been paid. Obviously, a photographer is a photographer. And so it's not going to be a huge deal in terms of your duties, but you really, really need to focus on the fact that you've got any third-party evidence you can showing that you meet each of the specific expectations of the government. So if we scroll up here a little bit, you'll see that your reference letter up here from your employer, or in this case, as a self-employed individual, you still need to prove that you have met these requirements right here. Your job title, duties and responsibilities, job status, dates worked, number of hours per week, and annual salary and benefits. So you still need to find ways to prove that or to provide that information as best as you can. If you don't have taxes that you've been paying, well, then you're going to have to use whatever you can, either if you deposited the amount in your bank accounts, if you have bank statements showing those deposits, even if they were cash, so that you can trace as best as you can. But at the end of the day, you have an obligation to prove it to the government. And if you can't prove it, then unfortunately, an officer has the ability to choose whether or not they're going to accept that work experience. So those are some of the basic things that you need to consider when you're trying to prove self-employed work experience. So, great question. All right. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is cooking hot here in my room. Give me a second. I'm going to be back. I'm turning the temperature down. There, I'm back. The temperature is much better now. I've turned the heater off, which is cooking, and it has been so hot. I'm actually seeing stars. It's so hot in here. I turned it up because it was cold outside. Actually, I don't think we did our daily temperature check. Let's see what temperature it is today here in lovely Lethbridge, Alberta. Okay, there you go. -11. Not too bad. It's not too bad. If it wasn't, guys, for all of this snow that came down this weekend, and I'm going to turn this, take a look at this. There's the best example right there. See that snow that's piled up on our electric box? Because of that snow, I cannot ride my bike to work. It's too hard plowing through it. So it's a little bit cooler today, but fortunately, my official heater in my office here, I've turned it down to a much more manageable level. Okay. Great question on that self-employed stuff. Okay, next one. This one is from Abid. And he says, "Hi, Mark. How is it going? Hope you're doing good and keep posting us informative videos." Okay, well, Abid, this is what I do, man. I provide information. I help. I give. And then guess what I want in return? Everybody wants something in return, right? One is just appreciation. So thanks from people saying, hey, thanks, Mark. I appreciate what you're doing. That's great. But also, I do have a family. I do have employment, and this is what I do for a living. So if you decide to choose to hire an immigration representative, then my hope is that you would believe that I know what I'm doing and that it would be in your best interest to hire me for peace of mind and let me assist you with the whole process. And that's what I hope in return. Okay, so back to the question. He says, I got an employer reference letter in my mail from my ex-employer this week, and the letter has everything except my last drawn salary, so the wage that he receives, and the number of hours worked in the week. So he's missing those two components that we talked about. All right. When I asked them to include these 2 points in the letter, they outright refused, essentially. And they said it's not the bank's policy to provide that information. So the question is, he says, I have my pay stubs along and salary account statements along with me that certainly makes sense that it was a full-time and paid job. I'm planning to move to Canada, and I've started collecting things beforehand to be able to initiate the process in one go. Would this letter be sufficient for an immigration officer, or do I need to append anything else with it to support my application? So always, folks, when you have a reference letter that is deficient, do not just accept it and say, oh, most of the people on the immigration forums that I follow say it's not a big deal and they didn't have an issue. Don't trust them. The reality is you have the onus of proving to that particular officer who's assessing your application that you actually meet all of the requirements to receive points and credit for your work experience. So if something's missing, then figure out a way to prove it through another means. You do the best you can. And if you can only go so far and there's something that you can't provide and you have no other means of providing it, then provide an explanation to the government saying why you can't get it. And then it's crossing your fingers. So you do the best that you can always. So if you have a choice and you have an ability to get something, do it. Don't just be lazy. Otherwise, it could come back to bite you. And I'm serious about that. There's nothing worse than getting an invitation to apply, say at 413 comprehensive ranking system points, which one of my clients was approved for, and then never have that point threshold drop down to 413 again. And then on top of that, get your EAPR refused because you took a chance listening to someone on some stupid immigration forum, or even someone who slipped through the cracks on our Express Entry Law Facebook group and said, don't worry about it. Yeah, you don't worry about it until your application gets refused. So I do not take chances. And that's why I charge what I do. I make sure that I do everything in my power to limit the officer's discretion down to one thing. And guess what that one thing is? Approval, of course. So for you, Abid, yes, use those pay stubs 100%. And if you're looking for hours, you got to figure that out because you have to prove it's full time. So if you've got a coworker or a supervisor within the company that can confirm that you were working full-time hours, you can draw a connection to your pay slips and say, look, this is the average wage for someone who's working full-time in my industry in this location. And here's some extra evidence to show what the prevailing wage typically is. And this is my offer of employment. And my offer of employment is for full-time because that's what it says when I was originally offered the position. Anything you can get, include it. All right. Great question. And you'll see I'm not flinging these today because I realize that I have to post in the description exactly what we talked about today so that other people can sort through it and figure it out themselves as well. So because of that, I haven't been launching them the same way because it takes a while for me to pick them up. Okay, next question. This is related to reference letters. And this is Iftech Islam. I don't know if you're on or not. If you're on right now, give me a thumbs up. I've had past dealings with Iftech. He's a great guy. And, oh, Bella, you're worth every penny. Bella, you're awesome. You're the best person in the world. Okay. One day, Bella, I'm going to invite you guys to come on and talk about your story because you guys, Bella and her brother Ralph, those two folks did not have a clear pathway to permanent residence, but we fought and we battled and we succeeded in the end. an opportunity opened up. We jumped on it, and she's here as a permanent resident of Canada right now, as well as Ralph. So I'm super, super, super excited to have even been a part of that wonderful story. So you'll have to ask Bella sometime, or maybe we'll have to get her on. Okay, so IFTech, here's his question. He says, hey, Mark, how have you been? I hope everything is fine. It's awesome, IFTech. I'm writing this to you because I hope you'll be able to answer my question regarding the proof of work experience. I recently joined a local NGO, so non-governmental organization, NGO company in my country, and they only provided me an appointment letter in the following format, which I've attached to the mail. Okay, so I'm not obviously going to show that because that's confidential. The company doesn't have a policy to give another paperwork to their employee except for the appointment letter. Is this format appropriate? I know that according to immigration rules, it does miss out on work hours, mention of full-time position, job duties, but if I can provide other documents such as salary account statement, will it be appropriate? I know that I will also get a reference letter, but I fear that it might also not be in the same format as immigration officers want it to be. In addition, my employer hasn't filed for my taxes as of yet, which he says that he will start filing them at June. In this circumstances, is an affidavit from a colleague enough to provide proof of work experience? So IFTech, the answer is all of the above. Do all of those things. Do not take chances. Get that proof of work experience. Get the letter, the affidavit from your colleague. A supervisor would be better if possible. Get the reference letter from the NGO and see, well, obviously at this stage, it looks to me like you've just joined them, okay? So you're going to have to wait for the time period to build anyways. But you're going to get the reference letter, and then whatever's missing, you're going to follow the exact answer I just gave to BID, and you're going to do whatever you can to prove those other elements of the reference letter that are essential to getting credit for your foreign work experience, okay? Bella says, not just luck. LOL, Mark was a huge part of it. Actually, he was it all. Oh, Bella. That's why I like you so much, Bella, because I don't have to, as in Canada we say, I don't have to toot my own horn. Bella's there to toot it for me. All right. Okay. Next here, this is Faizan. And Faizan says, good afternoon. Hi. Okay, I don't even really want to read this email. It's hilarious. Hi, fantabulous and mesmerizing Mark. This is Maud again. Actually, this is Maud. Your email address always messes me up. I forgot to ask one very confusing and important question previously, which I need to ask today and hope that it will work for many individuals with the same situation as mine. All right. Someone has a NOC C title with NOC B duties and responsibilities. He wants to explain to an officer about his job duties that it is matching with NOC B, but obviously he can't explain unless he gets an ITA, and for an ITA, the person needs to create the profile first. So my question is, how can someone get an ITA with NOC C title so that later, once he receives the ITA, he can then explain his job duties matching with NOC B in the letter of explanation? Okay, so Maud, this is simple. The only thing, and I say thing, that is important when you're submitting your profile is to understand that it is not a live human being that is assessing your profile. It's a computer algorithm. It's a program designed to extrapolate your answers and spit out your CRS score. And if your score is high enough, when the round of invitations is set and that pass mark is entered in, then everyone above it gets the ITA. Well, in your situation, you don't need to worry about it. A title is not a significantly relevant thing when it comes to your work experience, let alone how you enter that work experience into your work history section of your profile. The important thing to note is it is your NOC code, the NOC, that drives the ship for work history. So you are going to choose the NOC code that best matches your job duties, not your title. So if your title is clearly something that's classified as low skill within the NOC, well, you're not going to worry about it. You're going to keep things as your reference letter states, And that's important. You need to get your reference letter before you submit your profile. That's my opinion. Because sometimes reference letters come back and they surprise you because they have information that you didn't expect, or they're missing information that you were counting on. So when it comes to reference letters, you need to make sure that you get those before you file your profile. So in the case of Maud here, indicate the proper knock code, the one that matches your duties, because when it comes time to an officer to assess whether or not you have the work experience you've claimed, they will look to see if you have performed a substantial number of the main duties of that knock, and that you've performed all of the activities in the lead statement. You can see here, does Mark have a family? Oh, that's home calling me. So hopefully I'm not in too much trouble for my wife, but we'll cross my fingers that I'm not. Anyways, because I'm not going to answer it live right now in front of all of you guys. My wife's pretty good. She doesn't usually give me too much trouble. In fact, she's pretty awesome. But the reality is we've got better things to do in this than have me take a personal call in a live Q&A to over 100,000 people. At least if Facebook would show it to them. Okay, so here we go. Back to the explanation. As long as your duties, you've performed a substantial number of them, and you've completed all of the activities in the lead statement for that knock, your title is irrelevant. When you get your ITA, yes, if you feel the need to explain that, it says, the title says that you are just a food counter attendant, when you are actually a food service supervisor, it's going to be your duties that drive the ship. In just the same fashion as if you say, I'm a food service supervisor with McDonald's, but the letter you get from back from your employer says food service supervisor, but all the duties are for a food counter attendant. Well, guess what's going to happen? The officer is going to refuse it because your work experience is low skill. They're not going to refuse it because your title is different than what your duties are. If your title is something completely off the wall, like it says painter, but yet you're claiming work experience and all your duties say that you're a CEO of a company, okay, well that makes an issue. If it's completely unrelated, then you better explain why, because that just isn't normal. But I think you've got the answer there, Maud. Great question. All right. Last one. This is also a question on work history. And this is one that I get all the time. And do you know what, guys? I'm actually going to show you a live profile today. So in order for me to be able to give you the proper answer here, I'm going to pull up my live profile. Well, at least the profile that I use when I'm trying to sort through the changes that IRCC makes to the portal. I keep one up for myself personally just to test it out. I never ever submit it because that would not be appropriate in any way. So let me just pull it up here and here. Okay, so this question right now relates to work history. And I can definitely show you guys this. This is awesome. Okay, so I am Mehdi from Algeria. Thank you for all what you are doing for us. You're very welcome, Mehdi. Is it okay to not mention the first job in my career when filling out my EE profile? I've been in this position for 6 months, and I think what Mehdi is saying, I was in the position for 6 months, and I'm currently not able to get a reference letter from my previous employer. Now it's been 7 years that I'm working for a different company with a different knock. If I don't mention my very first job, I'm afraid the IRCC officer would think I'm hiding something on purpose. I hope most, he says here, I hope most Canadians are as kind as you are. Thank you. You know what? Flattery, guys, will get you a long ways with me. Although I don't choose the emails just because people are saying, oh, Mark, you're wonderful. I choose them because the questions are a benefit to every 100,000 people within our Express Entry Law group. And those are the thousands of YouTubers that are now subscribing to the YouTube channel. So I never want to forget you guys. All right. So here's the profile. Okay. Whose profile is it? It's my profile. And look at, I even have my wife in here. Okay. So this is it. So the question is right here in work history, and I'm going to continue my form here. So the question relates to whether or not you can exclude work history that you've performed in the past. So if we go to the work history section right here, I want to read this to you guys, and I'm going to blow it up so all you guys on your handhelds can say, wow, I can really read that. All right. So this is what it says. We will assess Mark's current and previous jobs for eligibility. Whoop, my mouse slipped out of my hand. For eligibility for express entry and use them to calculate Mark's score. You can tell us about each job by filling in the fields below. So here's the kicker. Do not enter any work related to or performed during an apprenticeship process. Okay, fine. That's great. But the reality is, guys, when you're completing this here, all you need to do is to tell them the work experience that you want them to use to calculate your score. You do not need to list work experience that is 1 at a low skill level because you're not getting any points. So there's no point in listing it here in the work history section. And 2, if you're already maximizing your comprehensive ranking system points and you've met the minimum entry criteria for one of the permanent resident programs, then you do not need to include any more work history than that. And if we're to go through right here, I'll show you one other thing, and this will be the last question that I'm going to show you guys. If we go to the Express Entry website and we look at the criteria for Express Entry, let's take a look at where you're actually getting points for foreign work experience. So look here at the actual, and I'll try to keep this up above my ugly mug there. Okay. So here are what we call the human capital factors. So this is where you're actually getting points. And I'm just going to make a double check here. I want to make sure that my screen, okay. Now I use Ecamm Live as my live video feed here. And so now I've got a little image of myself I can see and make sure that I'm actually sharing my screen. In the early days of these EE Live Q&As, I would go blithering on talking about stuff, and I would expect that you guys were looking at my screen and you were still looking at my ugly mug. And so now I know at least that I'm on the right page. Okay, so look at this. Age, level of education, official languages, Canadian work experience. Do you guys see foreign work experience anywhere? No, it does not form a part of the core human capital factors. Okay, so that's the first thing to note. If you have Canadian work experience, that is powerful. You get points with that. See, up to 70 if you are an individual and up to 80 if you have a spouse that's accompanying you. Okay, and then other points for the spouse. But do you see, once again, Canadian work experience. So where are we getting comprehensive ranking system points for foreign work experience? Well, it's in this section, the skill transferability section. And you can see you can get a maximum of up to 100 points. But the skill transferability factors are based on a combination of, generally speaking, it's a combination of your core factors here and other things that the government feels will help you to actually better establish in Canada. So education is one. If you have very good education and you combine that with strong language scores, as you can see here, or Canadian work experience, then you can get extra points. But here's the foreign work experience, okay? If you have foreign work experience combined with, you can see right here, education, then yes, you can get many more points. But here's the issue. So good language, and you can see here a CLB 7 or higher. Well, it definitely wants to be 7, and I'll explain it in a little bit. And foreign work experience. So you can get up to 50 more points if you have really high English or French language ability and you have foreign work experience. But how much? How much is too much? So remember here, as I was going through the question for Mehdi here, Mehdi said he has 7 years with his current employer. So let's go back and see how many of those 7 years actually make a difference. So this is the breakdown, but we're going to scroll all the way down here. There's the spouse. There's the skill transferability. Let's take a look at this, okay? So here's education, and we're going to go down here to foreign work experience. So foreign work experience with good official language proficiency. You can see right here that to really score high, a CLB 9 plus foreign work experience is what's going to do it for you. And it's not averaged. It has to be in all 4 first official language abilities: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And you guys know how hard writing is. And if you're struggling getting that CLB 9 in the Canadian language benchmark, remember you have to convert your IELTS to the Canadian language benchmark, which essentially for listening, it's an 8 and 7 with everything else. But often people struggle and only get a 6.5 in writing. Of course, they feel it's a conspiracy. And then there's all these posts on our site saying how they're just exploiting people and making them rewrite tests. And I tell you guys repeatedly, you need to hire Chris Enders, Krisenders. Bella, if you're still following, can you tag Chris Enders in a comment and post it again so that people can know who he is? And he lives up with you, Bella. He's up in Edmonton. Chris understands how this works because he was a former IELTS, not just instructor, but examiner, the person who was marking the test. So he understands how it works. Why you guys do not spend more time hiring him and paying him the money that really he deserves to help you is beyond me. And I have zero patience for anyone who, to start with, has to have a minimum of $12,000, almost $500 now Canadian as an individual to immigrate to Canada, who's not willing to pay Chris a couple $100 to get the resources you need and the instruction and the coaching to actually get this CLB 9. But that's the kicker, guys. CLB 9 plus foreign work experience. Now let's take a look at the work experience. I'm sorry I got off on a tangent there, but look at this. If you have none, then 0. You don't get anything. If you have 1 to 2 years of foreign work experience, either 1 or 2, and a CLB 9 up here, you can get up to 25 more points. But where your points really shoot is when you have right here 3 years or more. So the reality is when I look at Mehdi here and the fact he has 7 years, well, for the purposes of the comprehensive ranking system, he is not getting any more points if he's providing work history for more than 3 years. Once you've got the 3 years, you are maxing out your comprehensive ranking system points. Now, I will show you something else. If you're outside of Canada, you also have to meet the minimum entry criteria for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So if I type in here, FSW, eligibility, and I've done it so many times that it's here. Okay, so you'll see here that when you're qualifying under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, yes, this lists everything in terms of work experience, language ability, great. And remember, as with Express Entry, if you're not above CLB 7, you're not getting through the door. Not with the Federal Skilled Worker Program if you're outside of Canada. So education, ECA, that's great. Selection factors. This is the other place that you have to pay attention to with your work history. So within the selection factors, you can see here that work experience is one of those components. So when I click on selection factors, you'll see here that in order to qualify under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, which is a precursor to being eligible to even submit your profile into the pool, you have to meet at least 67 points out of a total of 100. Okay? So you have to get at least 67 points. And where do those points come from? They come from these factors. So language is 28, a maximum depending on your score. I'm not going to waste much time with it. So there's language. Education, you get up to 25 points. And let's go right here to experience, which is work experience. So you can get a maximum of 15 points. So this is where you look at the total number. With the comprehensive ranking system, you're not going to get any more points than if you have 3 years of work experience. So if you only have 3, you're going to get 11 for the purposes of this 100-point assessment under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. But if you were low, maybe your age, you were losing points, and you needed to claim as many points as you could get, you can use up to 6 years or more to get the maximum credit for your foreign work experience under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So this is the difference, guys. If you want to maximize under both programs, regardless of what you're using your work experience for, at no time will providing more than 6 years ever add anything for you. Okay? So that's just to help you guys. And I'll also qualify one other thing. The Federal Skilled Worker Program, and I guess I should jump back because I don't want to confuse anyone here. Maybe I already am because this is pretty technical. If you're qualifying under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, all of your points have to be in the same NOC. So if you're trying to meet that 67-point threshold, you have to understand that when it comes to your work history, actually I'm going to go back one, sorry here. When it comes to claiming your work experience, you can see that it has to be in the same type of job as your primary NOC. So it all has to be under the same NOC code to get all of those points for the purposes only of the Federal Skilled Worker Program. When it comes to the comprehensive ranking system, once you meet the eligibility threshold, and I'm going to have a quick drink here. In my Herbalife drinking bottle. One day these guys are going to have me as a spokesperson. This stuff is awesome. Okay. I'm drinking actually the peach mango. I think it's peach drink. It's awesome. Good protein. Okay. So back on track. When you're assessing your eligibility under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, your work experience has to be in the same NOC. But after that, guys, it doesn't matter. When you're going back to, and I keep flipping back and forth here, but when you go back to the comprehensive ranking system, these years of work experience, as long as you have the minimum to meet the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you can have work experience in other NOCs to make up the other 1 or 2 years that you're looking for points for. But 3 years, guys, 3 years for the comprehensive ranking system and up to 6 years under the Federal Skilled Worker Eligibility Assessment. All right? So there you go. Wow. So that was a lot. And, every day I look at these EE Live Q&As that I have, and they're long. Like we're into 51 minutes now. And the explanations that I give are not easy to find. And so I'm seriously considering breaking all of these down into smaller bite-sized pieces so that people don't have to watch an hour to try and find their answer to their particular question. Now, I may look at actually hiring, and if you know of somebody who is looking for a little bit of part-time work or whatever, I'm seriously considering outsourcing my videos to have someone timestamp when the questions come up so that it's easier for people to search. But right now, guys, I just don't have the time to do it myself. So if you know of somebody who's interested in watching the videos and then marking the timestamps and making a little bit of money on the side to do that, that's something I'm considering outsourcing as a service. All right. Okay, so there we go. So thanks for all of the people who sent questions in. Those were all related to work history. But I actually have one last one that I want to share, which relates to education. And this one is from Anna Neves Martins. And Anna, you know who you are. I'm pretty sure, Anna, you're the one I was talking a little Portuguese to, I think. Anyways, Anna sent in this question, which is really important, but I have an answer for you. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to click on this right here, because this is the source of your answer. So it says, "Hi, Mark. It's wonderful to see your updates on Facebook. I've lived in Lethbridge a couple of years ago, and now I'm working hard to be able to apply under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Hopefully until the end of the year to be joining you in the shoveling activities." Yes, I think some of you guys saw my videos that I posted the other day. And you know what? Some of you maybe haven't. Actually, I want to do a little poll right now. I'm going to go back to my site here, and I'm going to pull up my videos. And the question I have for you guys is right here. I posted this video, and you can see that there were 6,000. Actually, I'm going to pause that. There were 6,156 views. I want you guys to give me a little informal poll. Let me know if you saw this live in your feed or you were able to find it in your feed when you were looking for videos. Because I want to know if maybe it just slipped through when you weren't looking at your Facebook group, or I want to know why people miss these. Because this one obviously had 6,156 views, and it was yesterday morning that I posted this to let people know about the next EE Live Q&A and also to show you what I've been dealing with this weekend. So take a look at this, folks. I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to show you here. Look at the snow piled up, okay? this is me having to shovel. And let me see if I can flip it. Okay, there you go. See that snow piled up? I think 4 times I shoveled. And that snow just, it just kept coming down and down. But hey, there's lots of fun things that you can do. But I want you guys to just let me know if you actually saw that video and just post it in the comments. Okay, I'm going to take a quick look at my calendar. Actually, no, sorry. See, I'm all over the place. I'm so distracted. Okay, back to Anna's question here that I actually am holding in my hand here. So Anna says, okay, so she's the one who got me on a tangent, shoveling. All right. So yes, you can join me shoveling. In fact, you can come to my house and help me shovel. At least one of my snow shovelers, 2 of my snow shovelers are taking off on missions for my church. Maybe even today, my son may get his mission call and it comes back from Provo, Utah, and it tells my son, who's 18, where he's going to be living the next 2 years, which country he's going to be going to in the world. He could serve right here in Canada. He could go to the U.S., like my daughter, who's going to Indianapolis, Indiana on March the 21st. Or he could even be headed anywhere. He could be headed to your country. Anyways, we could find out. I know the decision has been made. They've mailed it to us. We're waiting in the mailbox. We're checking the mailbox anxiously to find out where he's going to go. So I could have 2 snow shovelers that are going to be gone in the next year. So Anna, you can come over to our house and you can help shovel at my house. And then I'll come and I'll help you shovel in your house. That's what we do here in Canada. Okay. The question is, as a bachelor in pharmacy, can someone request points as a professional degree with an ECA issued from an institution other than PEBC, which is the Institution for Pharmacy? In other words, to receive points as a professional degree, would it be mandatory to have ECA done by PEBC? If Wes evaluated the degree as a 4 years bachelor, can the candidate receive points as a professional degree? This situation is considering work experience and knock in industrial production, which doesn't require a license in Canada. So here's the answer. Let's take a look at this carefully. And it's a really good question because it applies to physicians as well. So it says here, as a specialist physician, general practitioner, you have to go through the Medical Council of Canada. As a pharmacist, remember, knock 3131. If you need a license to practice, okay, then you go through the Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada. They must do your ECA. If you are in a position where you do not need a license, you can see organizations such as the pharmacy industry and government, which require a pharmacy degree, but may not require a license to practice. You can have your credentials assessed by one of the other designated educational credential organizations. So then it says contact the regulatory authority. Okay, great. So all of that is out there. Okay, so the key is, if you're not seeking to gain points or to go through and get your credentials assessed as a pharmacist, but as something else doesn't require licensing, then yeah, you're going to go through Wes and you're going to get your ECA completed. The interesting question, and this is one that Anna I think is really drawing down to, is with that ECA, are you going to get credit as a professional degree? And let's go back here to this section right here. And let's go to education if we can find it here. Okay, so this is this. And I'm going to zip through to education. I think we've got the right person here. Yep. Okay. I went a little bit too far. I got to jump back here. Sorry. And that's spouse. And this is it. Okay. So you can see here, if you're to have your education assessed, your pharmacy, then it's possible, maybe you had an undergrad before you did your pharmacy. Many countries are like that. It's possible that you could be assessed as 2 or more certificates, diplomas, or degrees. One, obviously, of 3 years or more. So that could happen to you, Anna. Or if you go through Wes, they could list it as a professional degree. But understand the difference here is that professional degrees are needed to practice in a licensed profession. So you can see it lists medicine, veterinary, chiropractic, and pharmacy here. If you are looking to get points for a professional designation, I personally, don't, and I'm going to be very honest with you, Anna, I have not had a specific circumstance where I've gone in and actually obtained the assessment through Wes for a professional that has not actually gone through and completed the assessment through either the pharmacy or the medical council. So I haven't had someone who's gone through that. But when I read this, okay, if it's needed to practice in a license, it's possible that Wes could come back and say that it's a professional degree. But if they don't, it's more than likely that it's going to come back as 2 or more. So what is the difference for you? Well, if you're married, you can see it's 7 points difference, 119 to 126. And if you are, and it's the same for both individual and for single. So 7 and 7. So that's the point difference. And hopefully that's not one of the factors that's going to make a difference for you. If you come back, you go and get it from Wes and they come back and say that it's not professional, then guess what you have to do? You're going to have to go and get your credentials assessed through the pharmacy board. All right. So it's a good question that I don't have a clear 100% answer to, but I recommend you try it out, see what happens, and then come back and share your experience with the rest of us. All right. Good question. Very good question. All right. And once again, I think I was talking and trying to show people, and I don't even think I was showing my screen. Oh my goodness. This is terrible. You guys, I am so sorry. I am so useless. I swear I'm useless. I'm sure everybody's posted in the comments saying, Mark, you're not sharing your screen. Okay, just to recap, I'm not going to go through that whole explanation again, but you can see here, this is what you search if you want to pause the video. Have your educational credentials assessed, skilled immigrant, express entry. That's the page. And then when you go down here, it gives instructions on what happens right here, how to choose an organization. Okay, so that's where I got the information. And then I shifted back to the comprehensive ranking system criteria, the CRS criteria. And in here, it just gives a breakdown of what constitutes what for the purposes of education. All right. Whew, this is a long video, and it is hard to keep going for me even. All right, guys. Okay, so that basically covers off most of the questions for today. Those of you who've tuned in, those who have tuned in live, I appreciate you guys being there. And the reality is it's not possible always to get to the live questions, but give me a second here. You know what? This one's going to be a bonus. So those of you who are looking for answers to the specific questions and have been watching to this point, you've got the answers. I'm going to post in the description or all the list of questions that have come in via email. But when I'm answering listener questions, it's not always easy to remember everything that was discussed. But starting now, guys, I'm going to give you, this is bonus time now. This is cutting into my law firm time when I really should be working, but don't tell anyone. I will give you guys 15 minutes till 1:15. Well, it's about 12 minutes to send your questions right now. Okay. And keep the questions short. I'm only going to answer the ones, that are short and concise. Okay. Just for the purposes of time, but post your live questions now and I will answer them. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's start here. First question. This one is Bhavna, and Bhavna says the following. It's a little bit longer, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay. So Bhavna says, thank you for your help, Mark. You're doing an awesome job. Please tell me for showing. Okay. So now they're all starting to pop up now. Please. Okay. You're doing awesome. Please tell me for showing a gift deed. Who can give us money? I mean, only family or friends can also do. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question for you, Bhavna. Think of it this way. Does a friend just give you $12,300? Or in this case, we're just about at $12,500. Let me just see here. Proof of funds. I just want to pull up the amount here. So, because it changed in this new year. Yeah, so it's now $12,475. My throat's really getting dry. So $12,475 is now the amount. Would a friend give you that money, just give it to you without being a loan? Well, the reality is probably not. Most friends I know really like me, but they're not just going to give me $12,475. When it comes to family, though, is it common for a father or a mother to give their child, to give them money, or maybe even a sibling? Well, yeah, there's a greater likelihood that that's going to be a legitimate gift and not a loan. Friends loan money with the expectation that you're going to pay it back. And so in your case, that's the position I take. If you're saying that a friend is giving you money, then boy, that gift deed better provide a very, very clear explanation of why you are so special and why this person is really giving it to you. Because most times officers will start to look a little bit more closely when proof of funds are being given from a non-family member. All right? Okay, next question. This one is from Tenzin. And Tenzin says, hi, Mark, what would substitute for a reference letter from an employer? And actually, this one I've already talked about. And so we covered that in length in the past. I've answered 2 of the questions previously on things that can be used in lieu of the reference letter. So I'll refer back to that one. Okay, let's see. Okay, Abhishek says, I did my bachelor's in the US, and in my final semester, I interned part-time for 4 months, and then upon graduation was offered a full-time position, worked for about 8 months there. Do I need to provide 2 reference letters? And also, I closed my US bank accounts when returning back to US, so if asked, how do I prove my salary payments? Okay, Abhishek, you're going to need to confirm this work experience that you're trying to claim here. One, you don't have enough for 1 year here. So if you work part-time for 4 months, that's only equates to 2 months. And if you then worked a full-time position for about 8 months, that still doesn't meet the minimum 1 year requirements. So you can't get points for working less than 12 months. And the 4 months that you have interned as a part-time employment is not going to meet that requirement. You have to have worked for double the time part-time to amount to the minimum amount. So I think you got bigger issues than that. Okay, Ishan says, if the employer not from Canada is not aware of my EE application and they are applying for Canada work visa, what is the impact on the EE process considering it is after AOR? Wow, you guys are asking some tricky questions. An employer who's applying for a Canadian work visa, well, you're the one who actually submits your own work permit application. They may have a lawyer who's assisting them, but you're the one signing off on your application form. They can't do that without your knowledge. And if you have an employer not from Canada, more than likely it's going through the International Mobility Program, and I do a ton of those work permits for multinational companies. Those individuals, even in those circumstances, you're still submitting your own work permit application. So what is the impact on the EE process? Well, if you've already got an express entry application that is, you've filed your EAPR and you've got an acknowledgement of receipt, well, it's possible that your work permit could be refused if an officer at your visa office makes the determination that you may be lacking what we'd call temporary intent, which is something that plays a part of a work permit application. So it's possible that an officer could say, well, you don't have temporary intent for this work permit because you have clearly applied for permanent residence. So that's really the drawback. But in terms of the employer knowing, ultimately, you're filing your own work permit application, and that's something I think you're going to have a discussion with your employer just in case, because it's possible your work permit could be refused depending upon an officer, the visa office, the country that you're going through, and what's stated. All right. Next question. Okay, so Cresta says, hi, Mark. My question is, if we still maintain the eligibility, which is 67 above, for the federal skilled worker, before ITA, do we need to submit new IELTS result for dependent, even we still have above 67 score without IELTS? Cresta, I'm not quite sure your question here. Sometimes I struggle a little bit with these because I'm trying to decipher. Sometimes language isn't quite perfect. Okay, any points that you want to obtain for a spouse, Cresta. So you're basically asking, do we need to submit IELTS results for dependents, even if we still have above 67 without IELTS. For the purposes of the Federal Skilled Worker Program, no, you don't need to submit anything. If you're above 67 without your wife or your husband having completed an IELTS, that's fine. But on the comprehensive ranking system, if you're going through that process, and when you file your profile, you're going to lose points if your non-accompanying spouse doesn't have their language assessed. Okay, so that's what you have to take into consideration. Pushkar, how much would it cost to avail your services for the entire EE process? Pushkar, I'm actually glad you asked that question. I'm going to share my screen with you guys again, and there's a reason for it. Okay, I did this to try and cut down on these types of questions, but once again, we're now dealing with lovely Facebook, aren't we? Facebook is so awesome. I'm going back here to the Facebook page. Okay, I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to go back here to Express Entry Law. When you are looking at this group on your handheld device, there is a spot at the top that is called Pinned Posts. And I'm going to actually do this as a multi-purpose. I'm going to show you guys what I mean by this. I'm going to go on my handheld as well. And I'm going to go into our Express Entry Law group. Okay, yes. All right, now I'm going to actually go back and I'm going to blow it up to a large. Okay, I think I'm figuring this out. Okay, so actually I need to shrink this down so I can see my own image. Okay, look on here. So this is on my phone. And then if I can get it to show, do you see right there where it says, right there, view pinned post? Do you see that? So when you're looking on your own desktop at home, those of you who have desktops like I do, your iMac or otherwise, when you log in here, right at the top, you'll see already displayed pinned post. And this pinned post at the top is an actual super ultra detailed breakdown of my legal fees for all of my various service levels. Consult, when you buy the guide, bronze service, silver plan, and gold plan. And so the entire process is $5,000 Canadian plus 5% GST plus the immigration fees for each individual. And I think you guys can see by now that the full service is full service. You deal directly with me. You work with our staff, but anytime you want to reach out to us and speak to us, it's not like we run you guys through like you're a bunch of cattle in a feedlot like we have here in Canada. The reality is you get attention, direct attention from us. And that's why things are the way they are. So you got it, Pushkar, great. So that's the breakdown. But in all honesty, there's a bunch of different options for you guys. And this is the most important part. And actually, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to show, because this is one thing that is the most frustrating for me is because people just don't understand the difference between hiring us and our firm and some of the other agents in your country who offer their whatever so-called services for a fraction of what we charge. So we offer consults if you just have a few questions, and we do those all the time for members of the group, and you can search Consult Mark and all of the positive comments that come from people who have used our services in a consult form. And in fact, if any of my previous consults are still hanging on, post your experience here in the comment section with using us, because none of this is done to try to, it's not like these are fake people who are posting fake comments just to get you to use us. These are real people. So you can see, you can book a consult. When you book a consult, then I give you the guide at 50% off. So the full lifetime access is $497. So if you book a consult and we have a 38-minute consult, then you're getting the guide at half off that price. Then you can use the bronze plan. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with the bronze plan, but it's basically a higher level consult with a little bit of document review, but not to the extent that the silver plan is. And the silver plan, I charge $2,500 Canadian, which I'll be honest is, as far as I'm concerned, 100 times better than any agent or consultant you're hiring in your home country. So even if they're charging you $1,500, trust me, this one's 100 times better. You guys work through your own thing. You get free access to the guide. You get unlimited email support, 2 15-minute phone consults, and a full application review. So when you're ready to file your EAPR, I sit down with you and go through everything together. Every question, we review your documents, all for a rock bottom price of $2,500. And I'm seriously considering changing that because of the work involved. But at this stage, this is what I'm offering to you guys. And then those who money isn't really a big concern, it's more just getting the help and having the peace of mind, then this is where I submit your application through my own rep portal, and I provide everything that you need. So we go through, you guys complete the questionnaires, you guys provide the documents, but we upload everything into the portal. We complete the forms, we vet your documents, we represent you with immigration. You can see everything that's here. And we manage all aspects of the process. So if you have any correspondence that comes back from immigration, we track it, we make sure that things aren't missed. But at the end of the day, we provide the peace of mind. And so that's the difference. Those are the plans that we offer. And I would be more than delighted to work with any of you guys who would like to hire our firm and hire us. And so there you go. So that's the detailed breakdown when it comes to the actual fee structure. So there you go, Pushkar. Get another little drink. My throat's really dry. Oh, here we go. Krista says the dependence IELTS is expiring. So meaning no need to retake? Well, yeah. Because you're only asking Krista, you're only asking about whether or not those IELTS are okay for the purposes of the minimum entry criteria. And the answer is, if you need those IELTS to get the 67 points in any way, then absolutely you need to retake them, because you have to meet that minimum entry criteria even when you filed your EAPR. And so there's points for the minimum entry criteria for the federal skilled worker, as well as the comprehensive ranking system. You're going to lose points if those IELTS expire. So the short answer is yes, get it. And then Kabir says, I had a consult with Mr. Mark 2 weeks ago and he was just fantastic. Highly recommend. Thanks, Kabir. I appreciate that. Okay, so that's where we're at today, guys. We're gonna wrap it up there. We're at about 1 hour 17 minutes strong, one of our longest EE Live Q&As. And like I said, in the future, I'm going to probably try to break these down and actually give I just have to figure out a better way to do this so that the information that I'm giving is easier for people to find and to consume. And at the end of the day, like I said, my most important purpose of doing all of this is to help you guys. But and Preet's saying, please answer. Sorry, Preet, I have to end this. One of the realities is the reason I created this as well was to let people know about this. And this is my Express Entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. This, guys, contains all of these answers, and not just the answers, but I actually demonstrate, I show you, I walk you through the whole Express Entry process so that you yourself can go through safely and file your own application without spending hundreds of hours trying to trust people you don't even know to give you advice on how to submit your own application. So this is the complete step-by-step. It's a video guide to doing it yourself. And those of you YouTubers that are wondering, what this is about, I'm going to pull this off and I'm just going to show you very quickly where you can find it. And I'll post that in the, I'll post a link in the comments and in the description so that you can find it. But this is it, guys. This is the course. And I created this myself. There wasn't some other production team behind me. This was me just sharing everything that I knew about Express Entry and recording it in a video format for you guys to consume. So you can see here, the curriculum covers everything. And I'm just going to hit the high points of the modules, learning the basics. What is it? Preparing to submit your profile. These are things that you can do before you even get ready to submit it. Then what you need to do to complete your profile. And finally, well, I shouldn't say finally, then once you get your ITA, how to complete your EAPR forms, and then your document checklist, which is one of the most painful parts, and then frequently asked questions, right? These are questions that people ask me all the time. And you can see I just have some of them listed here, but I could scroll forever, right? So that's what this is contained in this. And, at the end of the day, when you enroll, you can see here, a one-time purchase, lifetime access is $497. And so if you book a consult with me, it's half of that to get access to the full course. And then realistically, within the 30 minutes of a consult with me or with Billy here in my office, we're going to answer most of the questions that you guys have. And then the guide just shores up everything else. If you want to take this and set it up over a payment plan, then I've designed it for 6 payments of $87 each per month. Now, this is in US funds. Or if you're someone who just wants to jump on and you think you can get everything that you need in 1 month, then subscribe to a monthly subscription, $97 a month. And this subscription automatically renews. And I'll tell you why it does. It automatically renews because I had people who complained when after a month their access got cut off. And then they were upset because they said, well, I'm not done with it. And now you've cut me off. And so I said, all right, fine. Then I will make it rolling and then I'll try to notify people. But every month it automatically renews unless it's canceled. Okay. But there you go, guys. You tell me where you have access to this much. And I'll emphasize here, 30-day money back guarantee. If it's garbage, guess what? You get your money back. And if any of those who are on the call on our attending the EE Live Q&A live, post in the comments right now your thoughts. And those of you who are watching it as a recording on YouTube, or who are watching it as a recording on our EE Live Q&A on our Express Entry Law Facebook group, post in the comments. Post your experience using it. I've got tons of video testimonials of people, but at the end of the day, that's not what it's about. It's literally about you guys, just knowing based on what I'm teaching you here that I know what I'm talking about. So you can see here, this is the YouTube channel. And if I I've got my link here directly to the fishing one, but my channel here, you can see if you go to videos, I've got testimonials right up the front. So this one here, I've got a testimony right here. I know she's a dentist, but I've got testimonials for a bunch of other people that, I just asked in the early days to provide me with feedback. So you can see here's a bunch more. So we've got one here, one here, one here. Just search for testimonial and you can learn for yourself. But if anyone else who's tuning in live right now has subscribed to it, let other people know whether or not you feel it was a waste of time. All I know is I put unbelievable amounts of time building this out, and it's literally a step-by-step walkthrough of every aspect of the course. And the videos are me demonstrating, with the permission of a real client, exactly how you complete each section within Express Entry. So you tell me where on the internet there's anything like this out there. I don't believe there is. There's no video walkthrough like this. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are unable to afford the services of an immigration lawyer, then I highly recommend that you consider doing this. Because the first option, folks, is that I would say is to just reach out and hire us. We can help you. And we are fully prepared and fully mobilized to handle anyone who's interested in using our services. And part of the reason is because I've prepared for it. I have actually created a new system within our office to help everything funnel. And there Shazia says, please, my question. Shazia, if you want the question answered, you're going to have to book a paid consult or send it through email and hope that it gets answered that way. I'm not going to be able to answer everyone's questions. But I want to thank all of you guys for joining. I want to just express tremendous appreciation for how supportive you have been of me trying to do this. And just, if it wasn't for you guys, I would never do this. It just wouldn't make sense. Right now, it is not the most useful time financially for me. It would be far better for me to work at my $425 an hour rate here in the law firm, doing business law, doing family law, doing other areas of the law. But my passion is here. It's with you guys. And so when you choose to hire me as your lawyer, that is the absolute best thanks in the world. And knowing that, what I'm doing here is completely free. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And Fazila says, really appreciate your help, Mark. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You guys are all welcome. Don't forget, every one of you guys that's on this call, I want you to go immediately and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because what's going to happen is you're going to get notified with every video that comes out, and I'm going to start organizing them and making them searchable in a better fashion so that you can find the information that you need faster. All right. So thanks so much, guys. It was awesome once again. Another super long EE Live Q&A, but totally worth it. Take care, and we'll see you again next Tuesday at noon Mountain Standard Time. Cheers.